Running now, I believe. Okay, Jimmy Toscano.
6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock somewhere.
6 o'clock. It's a little after 6. It took us a minute, but here we are. It's the NBA free agency show, brought to you by Manscaped. Jimmy Toscano's got his Celtics mug.
This is my free agency cup. I drink it every free agency.
You cold tonight, Jimmy?
A little chilly in here. Well, a little rule in my household: we don't turn the heat on until December, so we do what we can to save a little energy, save some money. So bundling up.
We try to push it. Kids make it hard. That being said, I played golf today in November 20th. So
it was nice out today.
Life's not that bad. All right, so let's catch everybody up with where we're at. And again, this is a whole bunch of talk. This is not your typical NBA free agent window, because normally by now, everyone would have tampered the F out of everything and 50 guys would have signed already, and we don't have that right now. NBA was cracking down on the tampering. It's very possible that teams are – they may know – people may know things. We may know where people are – they might know it. They just can't say it yet.
Now they can.
Huh? They can, but if you say it at 6:01, you obviously tampered. So there could be a little games. There could be a little gamesmanship going on here. Normally, the stuff would just come fast and furious with press releases and everything. So right now, we're in a bit of a holding pattern. What we do know is Gordon Hayward is free to sign elsewhere, should he so choose, starting now. And we don't know exactly what's going on here.
No, Goran Dragic just re-signed with the Heat, 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Stuff's coming in, stuff like that.
Couple things can happen right now. Gordon Hayward is free to sign wherever. The problem is it doesn't appear that New York and Atlanta are actually places that either want him or he wants to go. And so everything we're hearing right now is those teams are focused on other players not named Gordon Hayward. So we're going to have to see what happens there. And really right now it appears that everything is leaning towards the Pacers we're dealing with right now. And we don't know exactly what that entails or if it can work, but we think that that's Gordon's preferred destination. And now there's reports from Gary Washburn that
G-Dub. Is he still in the bubble? Is Gary still in the bubble?
Yeah. G-Dub says it's on, and that you know, the Pacers have offered Myles Turner and who?
Doug McDermott.
Dougie McBuckets?
What does he do? He plays basketball still?
He just
didn't he have the most
just Dougies, man.
Didn't he have the most threes or something in college history? Something like that.
College history.
I would imagine Dougie McBuckets is he a part of the contract matching in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I mean, so that's
which means what? Hayward's getting a truckload of money or something?
Apparently, what the Celtics want back in return, according to Wash, is Turner, Oladipo, and TJ Warren. So I mean, that's like
they
when
don't
you
want
get
all three. They don't want.
That's
all
like
three.
when you get one of those bad fantasy trades. You get mad at the person who sent it to you, so you counter by like asking for like, you know, okay, I'll give you Sony Michel for Christian McCaffrey and DK Metcalf. You just get mad at them and you counter with something like that. That sounds like what the Celtics did here.
Sometimes I'll get so mad where I'll just reject it, and I'm so mad I don't even text them like how mad I don't even want to pretend that that offer never happened. That's like how I.
So Bobby, what are we seeing? What are we hearing right now?
Well, the interesting thing to me now is when you look at that report that they're trying to bring back multiple players here, it's key that the Celtics have 2 roster spots open now after the Enes Kanter trade today. You also get a player exception out of that, so you can bring back a little more salary from Indiana, $5 million more than you would normally be able to because of the player exception that the Celtics get back for Enes Kanter here. Also talk of Aaron Baines' interest in Boston as well, now that you have a big man spot open back there. We know the Jason Tatum connection there. We know Baines' game well here. So that makes all the sense in the world as this stuff starts to come together. So the Doug McDermott one would be interesting because he makes $10 million a year. He signed for 2 years, including this year. So he would be a salary that would project to go into another trade in the future, a medium salary guy who can also produce off your bench. He had a good season last year with Indiana, sharpshooter, offensive engine, a bench scorer, as we've talked about here. And then you look at Myles Turner, who's been rumored to the Celtics forever. That's your real center. I'll finally get to stop hearing about the real center. But this is what we talked about yesterday, John. The three sides of this negotiation. Jimmy as well.
Thank you.
The suitors are gone. New York is after Fred VanVleet. Atlanta has focused in on Bogdan Bogdanovic. So thank the Bucks for their tampering situation here. The suitors are gone for Hayward. So does he get choked out here and have to stay in Boston for a cheaper figure in the end? Who knows?
And again, guys, I got to leave you for 10 seconds. I'll be right back.
Oh,
what do you think of that, Jimmy?
Wow. I hope John's okay. That was a quick exit. I'll say this. Woj went on the leader, and he said that Gordon Hayward's – it's still up in – the Gordon Hayward situation is still up in the air, and he's open. I think what he said was open to anything or open to –
He's just – does he even know with free agency today?
Open-minded. Yeah. Gordon Hayward is still pretty open-minded, which means I think he's still looking for, the best situation for him, obviously, right? I mean, it makes sense if Indy is his number one destination, right? I mean, I'm fairly certain his family moved there. It seemed like when he left the bubble, he went back. He went back to Indiana. He didn't go back to Boston to rehab. He went to Indiana. We know that as a fact, and we know his family was there. So now that's not the only indicator that that's where he wants to play, but I'm sure that situation would be great for him and his family, right? So it makes sense that he would be interested in a sign-in trade to that destination. Now, how badly do the Pacers want him? That we don't know, right? We don't know how much interest they have and what they're willing to part with. Now, we've heard Oladipo in return has been rumored in the past. Now, does that make sense for the Celtics? I mean, they're exchanging expiring contracts. They're exchanging oft-injured players as of late. Oladipo, strong defender when he's healthy, but
60 games in 2 years, though.
Right. That's the thing. I mean, are Celtics fans, going to be saying the same thing about Oladipo next season as they would with Gordon Hayward? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure physically, he'd have to pass those tests and everything like that. But when Oladipo was healthy, I mean, that guy was sweet. I mean, he was fun to watch. I enjoyed watching him play both ends of the court, and he can sing. So nice little bonus there. You got yourself a bit of a R&B artist on the side, which is nice.
Yep. He's on all music NBA team with Damian Lillard. For sure,
him and Lillard. Yeah, they could probably put together a nice little single, Lillard featuring Oladipo. Something to think about.
So it makes sense that the Celtics are going to try to go for the most here. The question is, guys, does Danny Ainge push too hard here? We know there's the criticism of him. He's trying to rob everybody. He's trying to hit a grand slam with this deal. Are you compromising just getting something for Hayward in this situation by dragging this out too long? We knew things were going to move fast here.
That's the problem, is if New York and Atlanta interest isn't real mutually, whether they don't really want him or the feeling is that Hayward doesn't want to go there as a preferred destination, and that ship sails quickly, the leverage swings back to the Celtics, but just a little, because they only have as much leverage as knowing that they now, don't have that competition of him just going out and getting the big money deal, but they can't hold him. They can't have him, I don't know. I mean, that's where they're at. Unless, what I don't understand is, do we think now Hayward finds the idea of returning to Boston something he absolutely doesn't want to do? Because that's what's not clear, is if Indiana's a preferred destination, does that mean the Celtics have decided they won't pay him? Therefore, his only path to a long-term deal is through a sign and trade? Or does he, what we don't know is his mindset. Is he so done with Boston that he's like, get me somewhere else? That's your goal now. And that's it. I don't know.
What you keep hearing from chatter is that they just want to move on. That he just, the Boston experience. Yes, that he wants to move on. The Boston experience didn't go well overall. There's just been all this freak stuff to happen, so get a fresh start somewhere else.
Yeah, too many Raptors fans here.
Yeah. Well, Fred VanVleet, it appears, is the top guy on the market, judging from the interest so far, which I thought it was going to be Hayward. It's understandable why it's VanVleet, and it looks like that's what the Knicks cleared space for. Hayward does have other options out there. There's widespread interest in him that extends to Charlotte and Cleveland, two places he didn't particularly want to go. So there still are teams out there in terms of willingness to sign him that he could use as some leverage here. They're just not preferred destinations. I know the Cavaliers in particular really want him. So this could grind out past tonight for sure. There's a lot of layers here. Brian Windhorst was saying that the Pacers don't want to take on the salary outright. So does that make it easier to get Oladipo from them, given he's an expiring contract, given he's a $30 million player? The question there becomes, what do you give up if you're the Celtics to get to that salary, $60 million between two players? Are you trading Kemba Walker in that circumstance? Are you trading Marcus Smart? It's going to have to be one of those two guys.
And this is a really interesting free. Again, we said this at the top of the show. This isn't like your regular start to free agency where it's bang, 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 all the deals announced. I mean, Fred VanVleet, who's the top.
Feet. That guy could not shoot. He had feet for hands in the playoffs, but go on.
But if he's the top guy, which he appears to be, and the one who gets the most interest, he's the first domino that has to fall before any team starts giving money anywhere. And he's not even taking meetings until tomorrow. So that's interesting. Is anybody thinking like, so I think, I mean, anybody now wondering whether they're going to go to bed, and Hayward's going to be somewhere else. That's not going to happen. I mean,
come on.
Okay, this will be the clip you play over and over again when he does sign somewhere, obviously, just stick it to dunk on me. But it looks like that's not happening. It looks like it's going to take a few days for the top guys to land different places. There's a few that are going to get their quick deals. And again, you've got a couple now. But Hayward, like I said, if VanVleet's not going to do anything till tomorrow, I don't think Hayward's going anywhere. I think everyone's going to see if they get their top choices first, and then start moving. Unless you're certain you're not getting it. If Hayward's like your third choice and you know you're going to strike out on your first two, then maybe. But I mean, who else are we talking about here? I saw Charlotte mentioned as a third team. They've got to get down a little bit lower. They might be a mystery team that could jump in there. But who else?
You're talking Portland. They had interest in him. That ship's probably sailed with the Enes Kanter trade that happened today. I always thought New Orleans would be
Kanter or Gordon. I'm going Kanter every time.
Yeah.
I love that. Thing, so. We gotta say goodbye to Kanter later.
Everybody does.
Should we take a minute and give Kanter his due here?
Why not? Let's do it now.
1 minute. Here's the thing, Bobby. I will say this. I think you kind of bailed on Kanter in the playoffs.
I did. So did Brad.
I know. Well, that's the thing.
Not me.
It's easy to just do whatever Brad wants. But me, on the other hand, I zig when they zag. And I was saying, how many times were we looking for a little bit of spark on offense, an offensive rebound maybe, and a putback? I thought that they should have went to Kanter a lot more than they did. I thought Brad would – remember how, like, one game Kanter would play, one game Rob would play. It was like back and forth. It was like it felt like he was throwing stuff at the wall, the same would stick. And I don't think he really stuck with one or the other long enough for them to get in any sort of flow. And like I think that's difficult for a bench guy to not know at all, like if he's going to just be a DNP or if he's going to be called upon in the second quarter. And Kanter, I thought, was a guy that should have gotten more burn, should have gotten more of a chance to make an impact in the later stages of the playoffs when they needed something off the bench. They needed some sort of spark.
Well, there was that one game against Miami, remember, where he had a good first half. Second half, there was that one.
That's your thing. Your pick and roll defense. That
90-second stretch. I think it was even less than that in the second half of one of those games. He was in. There was one sequence where Dragic just blew by him. Speaking of Dragic, and that was it. Brad pulled him right out. So definitely not shocking. Not shocking to see him leaving the team. But I don't want to rip him. I think he was a huge part in restoring the locker room this year. He had a great regular season. He was excellent against Philadelphia in the first round, which mattered. So you got what you got out of him for $5 million. It was a good signing.
Are you kidding? It was great.
Yeah.
He was great.
It was great, but why are they so quick to dump him then?
Do you want
picks.
do you want a guy that can't play for a whole series?
First of all, I think he could have played. That's my point. My second point is this. We already know they're weak at the center position, so now they're theoretically weaker. They are not stronger than they were before they trade. I mean, there's someone has to join this roster that can play center besides Daniel Tice and maybe Rob Williams. Willie Cauley-Stein is my guy. Everybody knows that. I'm waiting for that news to break that the Celtics have signed Willie Cauley-Stein to a 1-year, prove-it deal. That's what I'm waiting for, but it hasn't happened yet.
Are we done talking about Cantor? We lost
we're done.
We lost all our viewers.
No, we didn't. I think Celtics fans needed to hear a little Cantor. I mean, that's the last time. That's the last time we're going to talk about Cantor. I mean, I would imagine until the video tribute game.
So let's get back to this Indiana conversation. Do you is it worth holding out here for TJ Warren and Victor Oladipo? Those two guys that you really dig your feet in for here.
No.
There you have it.
It's just let's not be stupid, you know?
I get it. You're trying to shoot for the moon here. If Oladipo can rekindle something.
Here's a question. If Danny's hung up on Warren or something, we've mentioned this name before, and again, I'm not saying he should be traded, but is there, Bobby, I'll ask you, is there a situation where Marcus Smart is involved in talks if, in fact, Danny is – I mean, obviously, trading Marcus Smart and Gordon Hayward would be – the money there would be unbelievable, but we're hearing names like Warren. We're hearing names like Oladipo. I mean, would something like that need to happen for him to even get them to talk about Warren?
Salary's going to have to get there. That's the first hurdle. Does value have to get there? That's the question, because you could probably stack up other contracts here, your draft picks possibly.
But if you're the Pacers, you're not trying to get rid of Warren unless you're getting some serious,
Yeah, that's the point. Like, the money goes up and the value has to go up on the other end coming in. Does that future Memphis pick that they received today come into play? I don't even know how good that's going to be. That might be a heavily protected first-round pick. They're pretty much out of picks in terms of other teams into the future.
And you have to assume they're going to be above average teams, so their picks are going to be in the less valuable third of the draft.
It's going to be hard to acquire those other players. Now let's go to the other end of that conversation.
But is Marcus Smart enough to make it happen if Danny Ainge is secretly hung up on a guy like
I would say yes. I would say yes. Now, I'm going to throw the old trade machine together over here to see if those numbers work. But I'll ask you on the other end of that conversation, is Doug McDermott and Myles Turner enough for Hayward heading out if there's a chance to keep Hayward now with some of these options dwindling?
If there's a chance to keep Hayward, I think we need to know what money is involved in Hayward. I mean, are we talking $20 million a year? I mean, he did just opt out of 34. So, again, I don't think he opts out of 34 unless he's anticipating getting – a decent extension or a decent, deal here on the other end. I mean, $34 million. And I know you're going to say, well, he wasn't going to get $34 million, but whatever that number ends up being, it's all relative to whoever signs him, right? So, I mean, it's still a good chunk of money that he opted out of with, So, I mean, and to opt out of that tells me that money isn't maybe that's not the most important thing to him, because if it was, maybe he just opts in and says, I'm just going to cash in this year and figure it out next year. So for me, did you say Myles Turner and Doug McDermott?
Yeah.
If Gordon Hayward's hard is playing in Indiana and I'm Danny Ainge, I'm saying, you know what? It beats the hell out of him just signing with the Hawks and getting a trade exception back, right? And I think Myles Turner fits a need for them. I'm not saying he's the perfect fit, but I do think that there's a certain void that he fills. I'm not really interested. I mean, Doug McDermott is who he is. I mean, if he's a role player, great. But the deal is Myles Turner. And I think there's a lot of Celtics fans who might say, you know what, Gordon Hayward, it just didn't work out here. Nothing against you. I mean, you had some freak injuries and whatnot. But maybe this era just wasn't meant to be. And let's see what we can do here when we bring in a big guy like Myles Turner, a young player, a big who can, be a force down low, stretch the floor a little bit with an outside shot. Not saying he's Gordon Hayward, obviously, but maybe that's the best option for the Celtics at this point, and for Gordon Hayward at this point. If that's where his family is at, and that's what they're telling him, and maybe he's ready to move on to that chapter of his life. I mean, this guy is not scared to go from one city to another. I mean, he did leave Utah for Boston, and he really came to Boston because of Brad Stevens. So it's not like he has a lot of ties to the city. And Brad Stevens would certainly be supportive of whatever decision Gordon Hayward made. So that kind of makes it easy for him to sort of go back home, if you will. I can totally see it happening. And if I'm Danny Ainge, yeah, sure, I'm going to try to exhaust. I'm going to try to get everything I can. But at the end of the day, I think I'm pretty happy with that exchange if that's what it ends up being.
Well, what's the Twitter line saying? Because we looked into that yesterday.
What are the commenters saying? What are the commenters saying?
Well, that's for you. I'm locked into Twitter.
Can't see 'em.
You lock. Well, they're talking about DeMarcus Cousins, so that's good.
I'm still listen. Listen, if you're the Celtics, you don't have the luxury of laughing at DeMarcus Cousins. You just don't, because you look at your roster and you say, yeah, DeMarcus Cousins, in the right frame of mind.
Would you rather be giving the Cousin money? John's gonna hate that we're talking about this. Would you rather be giving minutes to Cousins or to Rob Williams?
I need to see what Cousins is. Cousins' talent is light years ahead of Rob Williams right now. So if the Celtics trying to win now, yeah, give it to Cousins.
I would say was.
I haven't seen him play in so long.
I would say was, not is.
We don't even know what he's going to look like. I mean, honestly, Rob Williams might be a great player in this league someday, but we know that he's not there yet. I think he can come in and give you 8 minutes here and there, and he can go up and become Lob Williams. But you can't tell me that DeMarcus Cousins, if he can stay healthy and keep his head in the game, that he can't be effective on whatever team he ends up being on. You just can't tell me that. Until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to believe that.
All right, my God, it's been so hard to listen to this.
Put us back on track, John.
Oh my God, no, it's really more a matter of like,
true.
Get DeMarcus Cousins out.
Hey, it's the commenters. We got to interact. No, they did down there.
Don't blame them either, guys.
We're talking about that wasn't what we were talking about.
Think for yourselves.
Okay. The Lakers have added Wesley Matthews. That Lakers team gets.
Isn't it amazing?
I like Wesley Matthews.
When free agency, when we were doing free agency previews a month or so ago, and we're like, I threw out Rondo, and like, that's who I want, thinking like Celtics was sneaky, get in under the radar and bring him in here, right. And he's like one of the top 3 most coveted free agents out there right now. It's unreal.
Yeah.
But John, when you said that, I was like, fully on board with Rondo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being like that would have been perfect, but it's not going to happen.
I'm thrilled. The Lakers losing him is a real deal loss.
Myles Leonard's
lose David Bradley as well.
Myles Leonard's getting $9 million per. That's a chunk of change.
Hey, that's what you can do if you're trying to kick back. Is that multiple years?
No, that's nine starting around $9 million is what Tim Reynolds reports.
Is it a multi-year deal?
I mean, if it's starting around $9 million, I imagine. Yeah, I haven't seen the report on the full deal, but
yeah, we'll see what. So Serge Ibaka had an interesting tweet today too. Him on the jet flying around. Where am I going to go next? I thought a lot of people.
To the Heat, by the way.
Wesley Matthews just left.
Recently.
Yes.
Lakers.
So, yeah.
So there you go. There's a big piece to
Giannis.
Team that's moved on.
I mean, at this point, are we just loading up for Giannis?
Who, the Celtics?
Yeah, let's just do it.
No, you're not going to get. They'll just get spurned.
Well, that's another.
Giannis goes to the Heat.
That's another reason you get in on medium-sized salaries, to give yourself a chance to get in on deals like that. They never really had a chance to do anything this offseason in terms of the bigger stuff because they couldn't pile up salaries. Now I'm doing the trade machine here, and I'm trying to stack this stuff up for Oladipo. It's tough. You got to get Marcus Smart in there, one of those important guys. And every time you hit the table, those guys become the center of conversation.
I got my French press here. I'm gonna have a coffee. Okay, we could be up all night with this. Okay, we could be up all night.
Jimmy's excited. We're camping out for Gordon Hayward.
I'm making a coffee.
That's for sure.
Let's get.
I'm going to say this:
Let's give it a breath.
Myers Leonard gets a 2-year, $20 million deal reportedly, right? And the Celtics just traded away Enes Kanter, who was just going to make $5 million next year. I mean,
there's a reason they traded him, Jimmy. They're trying to get 3 people back. They need the roster spots. They get drafted. What did we talk about last night?
They need the roster spots, dude. They just picked up Shemi's deal. They just
he'll be gone tomorrow.
I mean, Tremont Waters, Taco Fall.
You pick him up to trade him. You pick him up to trade him.
Yeah,
I know. I get that, but Bobby is using that like, oh, they need roster spots. They got to trade Kanter, but okay, like I get they need roster spots, but like they also need guys who are taller than 6'6". Like I don't know. Like,
they're going to address center.
2 people in the Gordon Hayward trade. You're going to have to trade Hayward and a whole bunch of others to make the numbers work. I think that's part of the thinking, like, so you could end up shipping, correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, you could end up shipping 6 for 2 here,
Possibly.
But what does that have to do with my point of this is that you're giving away Kanter, who's on a 1-year, $5 million deal.
Yeah, I think you're right, John.
I'm not saying he's worth more, but I'm just saying like maybe the market is dictating that's not. Maybe I don't know. The Celtics also gave away Aaron Baines.
Did you want to keep Kanter that bad? Someone else was texting me earlier too, freaking out about the Kanter trade. I'm like, really? Like, what was so good?
I'm not freaking out about it, but I just feel like
if they signed Baines, will you be okay about it?
Yes.
All right, so there we go. I think they're going to address that center position. Another interesting thing today we heard about from the Pistons camp, Duncan Smith there, who covers the team pretty extensively, is the possibility of a trade for Christian Wood, sign and trade for Christian Wood. I'm not deep enough into the cap, actually, to know if you can do 2 sign and trades in 1 year. There is that hard cap that comes into play when you do a sign and trade, so the Celtics can't pass $139 million in salary this year, which I find interesting too. Do you have to unload Kemba in that circumstance? So again, there's some interesting questions here. If you're going to do Oladipo and Myles Turner, you're bringing in about $39 million there, and you're at about, you're right along that tax line there that you can't pass. So a significant salary might have to go out to Indiana for Victor Oladipo. Is it worth it? He's expiring. He's hurt. John doesn't think so. I get the risk. If he can regain his form, become that centerpiece at the guard spot. He's longer than Kemba. He's a defensive guard. Victor Oladipo.
I am all in to roll the dice on an Oladipo resurgence. But again, you probably have to look to move Kemba if that's the case.
I think you do.
Right.
And if that's fine, I would roll the dice there. I would. And again, maybe it's not the right play, but Oladipo, we haven't seen him come back from the injury, and it is concerning. But man, was he good before that.
He was so damn good, and a great defender.
Great athlete, tenacious, good guy. I mean, there's so many things to like about Oladipo. I love Oladipo.
Good guy. I mean, yeah. Kemba's a good guy too.
No. I mean,
Kemba's the best guy.
Kemba's
the best guy. He's the best guy. Listen. This is the problem I have with the Celtics right now. In the last few years, they've got free agents. Everyone gets hung up on leaving. Everyone's hung up. Oh, they don't want to play here. Like whether it's Horford, Hayward, Kyrie, they don't want to play here. And then the guys who do want to play here get shipped out. Isaiah Thomas, see you later. The guy was in love with Boston. See you later. Here comes Kemba Walker. Never said a bad thing.
Overrated.
But like it's just so typical, I guess. Like I mean, I'm anti-trade Kemba, but at the same time, like I'm not just gonna manage. I'm not trying to
lean in that direction too. I think the biggest argument for trading Kemba is he's hurt, and then you're trading for a guy who's hurt. It's kind of a tough sell. He's better defensively, but he's much worse offensively. I take the better offensive player in today's league. It's a good idea. And again, we get back to that point. Are you hanging up this conversation, possibly losing it because you're pushing for too much here?
Look, I don't think so. Ainge isn't an idiot. Yeah. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not an idiot. However, Jimmy, again, this is the thing that got me so fired up yesterday. I'm not mad at Gordon. Yeah, if he's not happy or he thinks he can get more money, go. That's fine.
Right.
Well, I'm angry that the Celtics could potentially, in back-to-back years, lose Kyrie's salary and Gordon's salary with nothing in return is fireable, okay? That's a disaster. That is GM jail right there. That is an absolute abomination. You cannot
but
do
yeah,
that.
on paper,
You gotta
yes.
be out ahead of it. And recognize it may not happen. You can't keep going into off seasons and say, roll the dice. We got a good culture here. Everybody likes Brad. We'll be back. Look at us. We're young and on the move. Bullshit. Losing Kyrie and then 1 year later you lose Gordon for nothing. That's fireable. Okay. That is bad roster management.
Without knowing like the backstory on either of those players, sure, you can make that argument. Like if you're just analytically speaking, like, okay, yes, that's fireable. You lost this production and you got nothing back for it, sure. But when you actually consider the fact that Kyrie Irving is like on planet Pluto and
planet
nobody
Pluto.
really,
I thought it's not a planet.
They're thinking of making it a planet again.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
No, it was declassified, and now it's being debated again. There's actually some Pluto may regain its planet status.
I think you have to get it back so you can
go home.
I think you have to get it back so you can say planet Pluto.
Let's get Kyrie's take on Pluto. We already got his take on Earth, but my point is, I don't blame Danny Ainge completely because even he didn't know how nutty Kyrie Irving was. I think when he traded for him, I mean, he had the opportunity. He didn't. So John, give him a little bit of a break there. Yes, but like, do you think Danny Ainge honestly knew how tapped Kyrie Irving was when he traded for him, and the fact that it was not going to go the way anyone envisioned it that way? I mean, Kyrie Irving says, "Oh, I'm going to raise a banner here," or whatever he said on like opening night. Like, okay, that sounds great. Whether clearly he didn't mean it, but like this, I can't blame Danny Ainge completely for that.
I was all in. For trading for Kyrie. Jimmy, you and I knew it, and what do we know? I mean, I get it. We're not.
Of course.
I know we don't. Again, we're not GMs. We're not anything. I get it.
We saw the writing on the wall.
But we're down there every single day covering this team, down at the Garden, having this conversation, and we knew this Kyrie thing was over. I mean, at that point, I would have cut bait. I would have cut bait.
Okay, you would have cut bait, but now you're assuming that
you remember back then. I said they absolutely should trade him at the deadline.
They should, but maybe he looked at possibilities. But you have to also maybe at that point the word was out on this guy. Maybe everyone already knew secretly that he was going to Brooklyn, and maybe no team wanted to trade for him. I mean, maybe that was already understood within the NBA.
Someone there,
realm.
Shane or whatever, I can't tell the thing, said he bets the ranch Jason Tatum ends up on the Lakers. I'm going to double down on that. That's my greatest fear, by the way. My greatest fear is that Tatum signs this deal, and that's it.
So where's that?
A 4-year? And then
no,
4 years.
It's someone in the chat.
Can we worry about that in like 4 years? Like,
sorry, when we have this conversation, I keep telling you, it's all about making Jason happy and making sure he doesn't leave on that second deal. That's it. Or else we're in the.
You can't worry about that this
toilet.
Year.
This team's in the toilet.
But you start to plan for that coming up. But this is 2020. Like, we can't be thinking about 2024 right now. Like, we just can't. So like, let's just like table that, and it may very well happen. But again, there's nothing we can do about that
think about
right
it
now. You shouldn't think about it. It's way too far in advance.
I think you think about it tonight, because one of the first things we should hear about tonight is what
Tatum's
kind of
max should be happening right now. Right?
Tatum's what?
Tatum's max extension should be happening right now.
I agree, but so why don't we think about the Supermax? Let's not think about after the Supermax.
But I keep saying, I believe all of our roster management right now is building towards this future, less so than now. Now you're trying to, like I said, preserve assets, not lose that Hayward salary. Make sure you have stuff. That's what they're trying to do right now. But that's the whole ball game, is building around that core and making sure they spend the rest of their careers in Boston and bring in other talent around them. So I'm absolutely 100% worried about Tatum now. Everything you do, I'm absolutely.
Okay, Joe. Yeah, I get it. But like, what have they done? I mean, everything they need to be building around Tatum and Brown. It's a league that you need more than one superstar. But you can't be worried about it because there's so much more that's going to happen between now and then that, I mean, the team could look completely different for then. And I'm sure Ainge and, you know, everybody in the front office is very cognizant of that being their number one priority. But again, I mean, anybody you trade for today, I mean, they clearly might not even be part of the team at that point 4 years from now. So, like, there's still plenty of time to go. I mean, every year that goes by, I get closer and closer to having to make sure that you're set and you have something in place. But I still think that they're building towards being a competitive team for the next couple of years.
Yeah, so forget Tatum. We'll talk about him later. We got to get back to DeMarcus Cousins.
Okay, why?
What are we hearing? What are we hearing?
One guy 8,000 comments ago said something about it.
No, Woj just tweeted, DeMarcus Cousins is receiving considerable attention from NBA teams.
Of course he is.
So you're in on him, Jimmy.
Yes, until he proves that he can't play in the NBA anymore. Why wouldn't you be
Bobby?
Bobby,
that's fake news. Bobby, to overstate his point, used serious attention, and all it said was some early attention.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, that's fake news.
But I'll counter you with this: if you're getting attention at 6 o'clock,
Sirius has
people
two
are
different
calling you
meanings.
at 6 o'clock, then I mean that's serious. Like
there's a different form of serious.
Serious is not in this tweet.
No, it's not.
Serious can mean exist.
Okay,
and
John.
serious
Okay,
can mean
John.
intense.
It's just attention.
There's two tones. But
this guy wants to pick.
But the word serious is not included in Wojnarowski's tweet.
It's not included in the tweet. It's not included in the tweet.
So we're not even determining what he means by saying serious. He didn't say serious. He said some early attention.
Some early attention.
Yeah.
Well, some and serious can mean the same thing.
I would make the case that if you're receiving early attention, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, DeMarcus, you're going to keep playing basketball this year? I'm thinking about it. All right, I'll call you in a couple of weeks if I strike out everywhere. Okay, I'm getting attention.
Now that's serious.
Anything on Willie Cauley-Stein, Bob? Anything?
He has not crossed my timeline.
Huh. That's weird. Okay. I guess we'll wait and see.
Wow, this is not the show we expected, huh? I'm
glad when I knew we were going to do something, but I knew there wouldn't be fireworks. It's a different year, you know?
I mean, listen, what we didn't know yesterday, we do know today, is that the Pacers are serious about Gordon Hayward. We didn't know that yesterday. We heard rumors and we heard little things.
That. All we know is he's serious.
No, I mean, didn't Gary Washburn say that? I mean, maybe I read the tweet wrong. I thought you said that he was part of it. Boston wants Turner and Warren. Hayward wants to play in Indiana.
I think Indiana would happily rid itself of Myles Turner to get Gordon Hayward. I think the Celtics don't want that to be the deal. And I think doing
What do you think they want the deal to be?
Not just Turner. And again, Warren would be the dream. That's never happening. Why would that happen? That's so dumb. Guys,
Mark Berman from the New York Post, who's very
Don't get afraid, Jimmy. I'll be right back.
Very busy, on the Knicks front. Obviously, the Knicks are a team that's been interested in Gordon Hayward from the free agency side. Says, and I quote, according to a source, the Pacers are the front runner for Hayward and trying to land him via a sign and trade. The Pacers don't have the cap space, but names such as Aaron Holiday and Myles Turner have come up. So there you go right there. The Knicks have interest in Hayward, and 2 Jazz alums are on the Knicks staff, but Hayward prefers to go home. So just another little bit of info right there.
Yeah, he becomes a backup. If
Mark
they
Berman
can't...
from the New York Post, big Knicks guy. He's saying the Pacers are the biggest threat to land Hayward over the Knicks, who apparently have interest in Hayward.
Again, this is where we've been back to.
Whoops.
We're not sure about the Knicks. We're not sure.
No. But Mark Berman seems to be throwing some smoke out there about the Knicks.
The noise around them all season had been that they're going to pursue Fred VanVleet. So they're going to strike hard there. Toronto's going to try to keep him at some figure, and they're going to battle it out over him. And then if you lose on him, if you're New York, you're sitting there with a max contract spot and some money to blow. So your next best move is to sign Hayward. So they could certainly get back into play here as those meetings progress with Van Fleet. But with like John said, those are into tomorrow. Those are 2 days from now. We're going to keep drawing this out more and more and more. And then you have Ainge and the GM in Indiana staring each other down.
I'm sticking to my guns, and I've been there the whole time. I never thought New York or Atlanta would happen. I never thought it was real on either side. I believe interest and, reaching out and blah, blah, blah. Every team in free agency is going to kick the tires on everything. I just never thought Gordon Hayward is going to either of those two teams, and those are the two teams that could sign him outright. So it really does seem like—
well, that could change.
Everything we're hearing now, the vibe really feels like I'm homesick.
Now.
I'm homesick. Send me home. Like let's make this happen. And so now,
so Ainge needs to make that happen.
Gordon wants to go. The Celtics want him to go. The Pacers would like to have him, but at a price. What happens when you can't strike a deal? That's my question. When it gets to the point that you can't figure out the compensation, then what? Like, I don't know who's got a break here.
You go to a 3-team deal, which the Celtics have already worked out now in that Cantor situation. That Memphis thing got a little tense for that 30th pick. They pull in a third team and make it work. I wonder if Detroit gets involved here, make it a little more worth Indiana's while, take some money back. Detroit has unloaded considerable money over the last couple of years.
But so, you need the players. I'm saying, where would the players come from?
For Indiana?
Yeah.
Oh,
Bob,
Detroit.
you have the trade machine up?
The trade machine is down. I was trying to put it to work earlier, and you can't do Hayward because he's not signed. So it's not helping us too much, but I'll do it in my brain. Try to.
Hayward and Smart for Warren and Turner. Does that match up? I don't know those contracts off the top of my head.
Let's stop talking about Warren, guys.
Why?
Well, you gotta talk about him. You gotta.
John, I mean, it may not happen, but I mean, G-Dub included it in the tweet, so obviously it's been discussed at some point by somebody, whether he was immediately hung up on or not. But the point is, the Celtics are interested in him. Now, we don't know what the Pacers are thinking. We just don't. So I wonder if it even is mathematically possible. I would imagine it could happen in some way, shape, or form. You start throwing in, the draft, the previous draft picks to make the money work.
So yeah, what did Simmons say last night? He says $390 for Hayward, $90 million over 3 years. So we're talking 30 there. We're talking 13 for Marcus Smart, gets you to 43. Turner,
I gotta bounce in 2 minutes, guys.
Turner comes in at 18.
Yep.
And then we're Oladipo, TJ Warren. Those guys get you up a little bit, but then you're talking about another piece from them. Probably someone like a TJ Leaf who makes $4 million. A little more coming back to Boston. So in that scenario, you're right, Jimmy. There's going to be even more coming back to Boston than Warren. So like, John says here, what's the incentive for Indiana? You're never trading a player in a sign and trade from a position of strength, really. Like, you're never going to hit a home run in a sign and trade.
John's going to post every message that says, stop talking about Warren, basically.
That agrees with me.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. Because he has the power to do that.
Yeah, the only reason.
This is like how the media can manipulate everybody, just so you know.
I wouldn't get.
I wonder how many people know how much I've manipulated over the years behind the scenes.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. That stuff coming out of those guys' mouths, I put it there.
I always tell people that.
What happened to John Collins?
They're like, who's the guy on the top left? I'm like, that guy on the top left has formed all your opinions for the last decade.
Nobody knows.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's okay. They will.
All right. Before you go, Jimmy, you like Myles Turner?
I feel like you're about to trap me, but yes, I do like Myles Turner.
All right. I hope you guys do. Because I think people have put this idea of Myles Turner in their head. Then he's going to come here. He's going to play. And I just hope you guys like him.
Okay, Bobby, but hear me out.
Are you mad at us, Bobby?
Bobby is disappointed. I think he's disappointed.
No, this is better than where we were yesterday.
I'm not choosing Myles Turner out of 100 players at his position. I'm choosing Myles Turner out of, like, the only option it seems to be. As, like, if you're not going to get a Gordon Hayward, then, yeah, give me Myles Turner. He fills somewhat of a need. He's young enough and maybe Brett Stevens can, improve upon whatever he's good at. Maybe he can make him great, right? Maybe a change of scenery is good. A change of culture is good. And
I
yeah,
think there's a chance.
So when you ask me that question, that's a little bit of a loaded question. I think if the Celtics aren't choosing between 50 guys who are, in the bucket, it's like Myles Turner or a trade exception, then yeah, give me Myles Turner.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. That's why, I'm not crying today like I was yesterday. I'm feeling pretty good about a return of that caliber from Indiana. I'm just saying, I think some people have started talking about Turner, and they've been imagining the likes of Anthony Davis and the DeMarcus Cousins you're imagining, and just these all-enveloping centers. He has some issues in his game, and they're going to have to work him out, and I think there's a chance that Stevens could take greater advantage of him than Nate McMillan did there in Indiana. They were running a 2 big man system. Stevens will put the ball in his hands more, allow him to run the offense a little bit, and put shooters and spacing around him, which could do him well. There's a ton of talent there. It's just I haven't been totally impressed with his Indiana games, and I was up watching him at 5 a.m. when Team USA was playing. And
why don't you like Turner?
It's Team USA. I got very locked into that team with
USA.
Marcus Smart.
Oh my God. You're really going to go with Team USA?
I am. They were so disappointing.
You want to trade Paul Pierce, too, back in the day when Team USA was the biggest failure?
Sixth?
Yeah. Did you want to trade Paul Pierce?
Hey, I was like 6.
I did.
I don't know.
I thought he was a loser.
Shocking.
So
Bobby, go on.
The biggest issue with Turner, and this is what's going to drive people with crazy, is he likes to float on the perimeter, shoot jump shots, spot up.
NBA.
Well, you're drafting this guy. You're trading for this guy rather to be an interior force, an interior presence, and he's not always going to do that. Daniel Theis, luckily you'll still have him, so you'll have the option to play both of those guys, but could end up being the better team defender of those two in Boston's system. At least an offensive player the way they want to play. Now, Boston has done a pick and pop offense with Al Horford. It would probably be similar to that, but this guy's a little worse of a shooter than Al Horford was.
But Bobby, the last X amount of years, you can go back to like Kendrick Perkins. Does it really have a guy that's like playing significant minutes that's just a straight up banger down low? Not really. You want to get Andre Drummond? Is that what you want?
No.
Exactly.
You'd be better off with Turner. Look,
exactly.
Defensively, he helps you, and he can be the lone big on the floor and be absolutely fine.
The talent is through the roof,
and he likes. And you're right. He likes the jumper. He likes to stretch it. He likes to play in that stretch 4-ish sort of role.
He likes to handle the ball,
and he likes to handle the ball. And again, that's a modern big, but he can anchor your defense. From the center position as the lone big on the floor, and you'll be fine there, and you're not going to get murdered, okay? Like they did it sometimes. And all credit to Daniel Theis and the season he had, and we all love him. But that combo I actually like a lot, Bobby. You lose something for sure. And again, it'd just be a different story if they'd hit with a draft pick, and if they had a hero or somebody else in there to create more offense that you'd lose with Gordon being gone. But I think Turner could fit on this team. I don't think it's a disaster.
No, it's not a disaster at all. I'm just saying there's concerns. There's going to be frustrations as he breaks into the team because he is a enormously talented player. And this is why I'm okay with this deal, because he has the potential to be phenomenal. He's signed through 2023, so there's security there. And he would have value in another ensuing trade one day if you eventually want to move on from him as a powerful chip there. He's a good fit. I think
he's tradable for sure.
Yeah, I think we just flipped Bobby. I just watched us flip Bobby. That was awesome. I'm going to leave on that note. And if anything happens in the next few hours, maybe I'll pop.
We're going to wrap it up too in a couple of minutes. Jimmy, any final thoughts before you press goodbye?
Final thoughts is I'm in a better place mentally than I was yesterday, knowing that Gordon Hayward just didn't just immediately sign with like the Hawks, which is I think a percentage of me thought that may be the case. So it sounds like there's a better chance that the Celtics at least get something out of this than yesterday.
What did we say yesterday? Calm down. Everybody yesterday thought it was the end of the world.
Right. It sounds like it. Who knows? The Knicks are still in play. But I don't think it's a great fit.
It's the end of the world if you believe the smoke, and that was the thing.
Right.
You had Atlanta and New York, and again, if somebody kept saying that's bullshit, don't freak out.
That was John. Give it to him.
The fear again is that Danny overplays his hand and he walks for nothing, you know, and that's always been the thing. Entering this point, not having resolved it prior to, opens up a doomsday scenario. That's why that's why I was fired up yesterday, is because you should have figured it out already. And you've had time, figure out your sign. And I know the league screwed them with this, you know, when can I do business sort of timetable with everything. It made it harder. And the fact that he couldn't gauge his market, so it was hard for Gordon to make a decision on his own. But that's what I was annoyed with, is you've opened up the possibility of losing him for nothing, which is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And so I'm with you, Jimmy. I feel that's less likely to happen. But again, if it's Danny's just sitting there and saying, no, I'm not budging, and then Indiana's like, forget it, dude. You know what's going to happen? We're going to look around. You're going to go to bed, and Myles Turner is going to have been traded to somebody else tomorrow, and you're going to be like, oh, shit, because then that deal is gone.
And my last point is, John, is Danny doesn't feel how you feel. He doesn't feel that it's a fireable offense, right? Or else he might panic and just take whatever he can get. So clearly he's been told something by the owners, or he knows something that we don't know, that he's fine with this hard negotiation if that's what's going on. He's not concerned about, you know, fireable offenses or losing Gordon Hayward for nothing. He you know, so I mean, at least, like I said, maybe he's more, not maybe, clearly he knows what the hell's going on more than we do, but he's not concerned with losing Gordon Hayward for nothing right now. So I mean, that's my takeaway from the first 45 minutes of this.
All right, Jimmy's got to go. Bobby and I'll take us to the top of the hour.
See you,
if any
boys.
news breaks in the last 5-6 minutes, we will hang on here, but we were planning on going an hour here. We started at 6. Bobby, checking the quick Twitter machine. What do you see?
So the Pistons are doing weird things. They go out and draft Isaiah Stewart, the center out of Washington. They just signed Mason Plumlee to the mid-level extension. Yep. So they're stacking centers there, big men. I just saw the tweet that, you know, they'll be starting Griffin, Stewart, and Plumlee. They have a great center in Christian Wood, who's been a Celtics target. Was a Danny Ainge trade deadline target.
His name's popped up in this chat quite a bit.
Yeah, there's noise around him right now. Like I said, Duncan Smith wrote that piece about a sign and trade earlier. You can do multiple sign and trades. So this is my last question that we'll hit on before we get out of here. So let's say they do the McDermott Turner trade, Indiana and Boston. All of a sudden, you're looking decent at center. You got Brown, you got Tatum. Say you keep Kemba and Smart. So Smart's feasibly going to be your starter going forward. You end up back in that place that they were in the East Finals. Like, Smart can be great for you many nights. You know, he can fill in on that wing spot. He can play and make. But you're kind of weak on the bench if those draft picks don't pan out. If they do, you're looking good there. You know, Smart has to move up another rung, which can have its own issues. The reason I still wanted to keep Hayward ultimately was to stay strong on the wing and figure it out at center. As you can see, Christian Wood, our Willie Cauley-Stein dream, Aaron Baines. There's ways to figure out center.
I'm not worried about it, and I actually do. I'm with you, Bobby. I actually think Baines. I think one of the reasons, and Jimmy was saying it earlier, why do you give up on this guy and why do you give up on that guy? I think Baines finds his way back here.
It feels like it.
That's always been my vibe. If he does, everyone will be so happy, because he's exactly what you when you don't have it, when you don't have what Aaron Baines provides, you're just starved for it, you know. When you face that team that's got that dominant big and you're getting eaten alive, and then Baines comes in and just wears the guy down, you know,
eats a kick to the nuts.
Oh God, it's so great. I remember, this is a small thing, but I remember a couple of years ago when Howard came in here one time, and he was Dwight Howard, and he was really active early in the game, and he was going at Baines, but he just kept slamming into him in the post, and he just running into him, and it's just like waves splashing against a rock. And after like a quarter and a half, he was like, I don't want to do this at all anymore. And he literally disappeared, you know, like that's the effect he has on you. He's so difficult to play against because he's so strong that he really, really, really makes you work for it. That even if you're guy gets posterized criticized more than anybody in the history of the NBA, but you have to work so hard against him as a big, it eventually just wears you down. And he's
talk about satisfying Tatum too. There seemed to be a real relationship
there.
Yeah. And you know, you always used to mention that none of the guys would talk to each other in that locker room. The one guy that probably everybody, you know, individually actually liked mutually in there was Aaron Baines. That was probably the one point of connection there.
Yeah, God, they were miserable, those guys.
There's a great reason to love the idea of that. But then what are you talking about? Who's your starting 4 next year? You got Smart, who's going to fill in that final spot on the wing. But who's your first guy off the bench? Langford's out for a month. You know, Naismith, is he ready to go in 30 days?
No, you've got problems, and this is again where you
Doug McDermott, I guess. This
is again where you see what comes back and what's playable here, you know. And again,
this is my point. You got Tice, Turner, Baines, Rob Williams, but what do you have on there? Like, this is still a wing-oriented team, and you're going to stack up all that at center. Now, again, it's assets, so you can flip those for other stuff going forward if you feel you have a need there later. But I've always felt going into this market, and the reason I didn't love that Turner trade before we were talking about getting nothing for him, now this looks pretty good relative to that, is there's so many ways to address the center position. Cody Zeller, Cauley Stein, just like a million different guys who can be good backups. Hell, they just got a great season out of Enes Kanter for $5 million, and your return's going to be a good center in Myles Turner. Could he become great with the Celtics? Certainly, but he's a good center right now, and that's it. It's a good return relative to what we've been thinking the last couple of days, but he's still a significantly worse player than Gordon Hayward.
Who, Turner?
Yep.
There's no question about it. But again, it's not, you can't look at it in a 1-for-1 situation.
But that's what it is at the end of the day.
But it's not, because you're looking at this goes back to our best 5 argument from the season, not argument, but every time they played their best 5, which on paper is as good a 5 as anybody could put forth in the league, they sucked.
Fair point.
It didn't work. So what you have is, what you're creating is bench depth with a guy like Gordon, as opposed to a guy playing 35 first unit minutes when you really need it, and then in the playoffs being able to run that out there and be overall a more formidable team. So that's what you have there. More so if you switch out Hayward, and again, you always have at the end of the day, you know, you're going to have more Tatum and more Brown. I mean, how many times during the playoffs were we saying, my goodness, what, Jalen's just standing there and no one will give him the ball. Like, at some point you just have to hand the keys over to these guys and get the F out of the way. It's so, I mean, it's getting ridiculous that, like, we still have to beg for Jaylen Brown to get shot opportunities in a game. So
you make a fair point. If I'll say that
you can't replace Hayward. Hayward has a skill set that's hard to find. That, okay, a 6'8" guy who can handle the ball, pass, do all of these things. You dream for guys like that, but you got 2, okay? And so it's great to have a third, but I'm not going to call it a luxury. But you're not looking for a straight 1-for-1 swap, because you can't find a player of his caliber. You find something else. I'm going to go back to, like, anyone who's seen the movie Moneyball, okay? The philosophy when they lose Jason Giambi and Brad Pitt's sitting in the room and he's saying, these 3 guys will make up for the OPS of Giambi and Damon. Okay, I'm going to get there a different way, and the Celtics are going to have to get to where they want to go, a different path, and they still might be able to get there. So that's my thinking.
Hey, if you come out of this trade and make Turner a better player in the Brad Stevens system, and you get the most out of McDermott as that 4th wing, maybe you're not looking so bad there. I'm hung up on this thing that we feel differently about, that we're never going to get an answer to. Ultimately, it looks like, would this team be a championship team with its 3 core pieces and Gordon Hayward healthy? I think you're yes, but you'll never get an answer to that. Maybe you never would have.
Bummer. It's a bummer that this is the saddest thing as a Celtics fan is when you had Kyrie Hayward and these kids.
2018 was the year,
and that season went to shit like that, and then then you see these guys developed to another level the year later, and Gordon Hayward is playing healthy, is playing at his best, and you're looking at this team in February and thinking like, who's better than them? You know, like
even in the first 8 games of the bubble, like they had that. Who's the bad loss to? Milwaukee, and then they rip off a couple of games there. They only lose to
Milwaukee was close. They lost to Miami, as well.
Yeah. But every other game,
then they absolutely took Toronto to the woodshed.
And Hayward played really well in that Miami game too, and he was great in the bubble. It looked like Hayward was back to being the old Hayward. Brown was killing it. Tatum eventually, after that bad first game, got back into his form. So I'm with Ainge. If those 4 stay healthy last year, they're at least in the championship. But we'll never know,
Yeah.
And it's always that
We
what
won't
if game.
know. The same thing with like if KG doesn't hurt his knee or if Perk doesn't get hurt in 2010. And
So here we
there's
are.
a lot of.
But yeah, you know what? You know the point I like as we wrap this up.
And if Jim Rice doesn't get hit by a pitch and break his wrist in 75, we can do this for the rest of our lives. Okay. The older you are, like me, you could go forever and say what if. But at the end of the day, this is what we got now. Hayward wants to leave, and that's that.
Yeah.
So Myles Turner's young. Salary is fine. He's controllable. He fills an immediate need. If it's the best you're going to do, it's not worth griping over. I like Hayward better because you have to view him as gone, and the alternative of nothing in return is unacceptable. So you got to take what you get. And Turner's not bad. If the deal gets stuck on Ainge not wanting to do Hayward for Turner and Hayward walks, oh my God, is that going to be a problem?
Yep.
Okay.
Then we'll have our meltdown here. Yep.
So that's where we're at. Anyway, guys, thank you again for joining. I'll let everybody know once again our sponsor here is Manscaped. Nice enough to sponsor us, allows us to bring this content for free. We're going to keep doing it. We'll do this every time there are updates. We're going to do it throughout the season for pregame, postgame. We'll be here.
Oh, man, the Pistons just signed another center.
Did they?
Jahlil Okafor.
Wow.
Whatever.
Weird. So, and guys, if there's a massive Celtics news, we'll pop back on here tonight. Okay. So, if you want to be part of it, and it's been awesome the last few days having all of you on board, please subscribe. You'll get notifications. Our subscriptions have been going through the roof here. And that makes a huge difference because you're going to get notified right away. Turn on your notifications. And if we go live, if something happens, we'll go live. We'll talk about it. We'll check out your comments, your chats. We'll answer questions, all that. We might have Josue Pavone on later as well, and other cast of characters as well. So until then, again, Manscaped, 20% off, free shipping with the code GARDEN20 at manscaped.com. This is good good deals right now. This is good Christmas presents here.
Black Friday from home.
Yeah. So give it a shot here again, Manscaped. Mention GARDEN20 as the code at manscaped.com. You're going to get 20% off a whole variety of stuff. So it's a good deal. Anyway, for Bobby Manning, John Zannis, we will see you guys possibly later.